as we welcome our buddy 1320 Kings insider, James Ham. James, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's been a wild couple of days with the Sacramento Kings. Always too high, always too low.
It's been a wild couple of years for the Sacramento Kings, Hammer.
Yeah, I'm like 12 years of wild, actually. Yeah,
that's what it is. That's going to be the name of the next virtual meet and greet. 12 Years of Wild, starring James Ham. I got the alert. We were just telling people, go subscribe, go become a premium subscriber to the Kings Beat and be a part of the virtual happy hour this week.
Yeah, we're super excited. Virtual happy hour is happening Thursday from 5:30 to 7. We get a little crazy on the happy hour.
Yep.
It gets a little crazy. Get a couple old fashions, get a little loose.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's fun. And I'm like in my bar, and then we have a special guest this time around. So Mr. Sam Amick from The Athletic is gonna join in and hang out with Sean and I, and hopefully you guys pop in. And it's a party. It's a good time, and we let people ask all kinds of questions, and we're honest about our answers, and it's a good time. That's why it's called the off the record Kings Beat virtual happy hour. It gets a little wild.
Everybody, before they enter, they have to put their phones in a case, and
that's what it is.
Yeah, you certainly cannot record on the Zoom. I know that. And you know what? Like, look, if someone wants to record and put it out there, I'll just ban them. I'll just cut their access.
I don't think there's anything that extraordinary out there, but there's some really good stuff.
Or you could just be like, "No, that's not me.
No,
it's not me.
Photoshop.
That's not me.
Photoshop.
That's not me."
That was DeAaron Fox yesterday, though, in the fourth quarter. As we had someone look this up. The Kings have won games by the Kings have lost their last 7 games by 18.3 points per game.
Yeah,
that is just astonishing. They've won games on the season by, I think it was 8.3 points per game. That's just amazing. And you talked about a crazy couple of days for the Sacramento Kings. DeAaron Fox's fourth quarter last night, really the best we've seen him play since returning off of the COVID list. What was your takeaway from DeAaron yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he got downhill. He got downhill on that team. They had no idea how to stop him. And how they stopped him was to foul him. And he stepped to the line and he hit his free throws. I thought he was absolutely brilliant down the stretch. And just really, he's the difference maker that everyone has been waiting for him to be. And look, I'll tell people this too. Like before he got put on the health and safety protocol list, he was averaging almost 27 points a game over his previous 5 games. He was playing really, really well. And, this is impacting players in all kinds of different ways. And we got to see him step up and kind of be the guy that we've been waiting for him to be this season that he was last season. He's a guy who was one of the top fourth quarter scorers in the NBA last season. And it's just, where has he been? And he took a little ownership of that. He said, I haven't been that great. My teammates showed, their faith in me, just like he had showed faith in Chimezie Metu earlier on that buzzer beater that, was so huge for the Kings over Dallas. So, yeah, I think that we're starting to, I don't buy in. This is new year, new us, that Tyrese Haliburton said. Yeah. But I certainly think that there's a potential, because this team has always had the talent. It's just the light bulb. I mean, they don't have talent to win an NBA championship. I totally agree with what Alvin Gentry said the other night. They don't have that kind of talent. They shouldn't be this bad. And they shouldn't be this inconsistent, and hopefully they won't be from here on out, but that would be crazy for me to bank on that.
What do you kind of attribute Fox's aggression last night to? Was it just one of them nights, or, I'm always checking the pulse, James. Did something click in him? Is it simply the fact that he's feeling better after coming from COVID and things of that nature? Like, it seemed like he made it a point yesterday to go at that Miami Heat team when he saw a weakness and whoever was guarding him or whatever the case may be. Is that just one of those random nights, or is it more of a concerted effort for him, maybe with the start of the new year? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is who he knows he has to be, for sure. And I think there's a little bit when you look up and Nick Stauskas and Kyle Guy and, even Tyler Hero,
Yeah.
like there's some guys you're looking up and like, well, that guy's not going to be able to stay in front of me, and that's what I think his mentality was like that. And, like Yurtseven, and what a find. He was so good at the California Classic, but man, it looks like it translates. But the problem is he can't block a shot. He can't block a shot with a guy like DeAaron coming at him. He just doesn't have the lateral quickness.
Mhm.
So, I think all things led to sort of, this is what DeAaron Fox knew he had to be in that moment. And I thought it was good. He was really good defensively too. He has been really engaged the last like 4 or 5 games defensively. Does he get beat on occasion? Sure. But so does everyone else. I just think it's a good moment for him, and he needs to keep having these moments if this Kings team is going to succeed.
You're listening to D'Lo and Casey along with 1320 Kings insider James Ham here on ESPN 1320 KIFM West Sacramento and Odyssey Station, and driven by Lashers, Elk Grove, Dodge. What do you think it is though with De'Aaron? Like, because it wasn't just his aggression throughout that game. It was, in the fourth quarter, he got really aggressive and active in that fourth quarter. I think he went to the foul line 9 times in the fourth quarter. Is it just what you were speaking of, recognizing the moment, recognizing who's in front of him, recognizing this is what it's going to take for us to win? Is it something else? Like what really got him off there in that fourth quarter?
Well, I think if you listen to his post-game comment, he understands that he hasn't played well. He understands that that's the conversation out there. That, again, I think De'Aaron Fox, if this team is in the playoff hunt, is a much better player than De'Aaron Fox, where he feels beaten down and like they're heading the wrong direction. He takes a lot of ownership on what's happened and why this team isn't as good as they should be. And I think in that moment, he just saw it like, hey, he was really good a couple of times over the last few games in moments. He just hasn't been able to sustain it. And I think a lot of that is just coming back from COVID. I think Davion Mitchell asked to come out of a game for the first time because of COVID. He was out of breath and winded. And then the next game, after being really good, he wasn't, so like you're seeing like the hit and miss with all of these players coming back. Alex Len just looks so out of rhythm, and no matter like just missing games in the NBA, like what Rashawn Holmes did. Rashawn Holmes wasn't even half the player we're used to seeing on either end of the court when he came back, and now he's out again. So, I think every game has its own feel and its own personality, and I think the Kings felt the punch. They got hit there in the third quarter, and then they responded, and they said, "Look, we're gonna put this one." We're going to get this one. And that's what I think we saw. We saw a very good effort all the way through the tail end of the game. And you got the big stop. I think that's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that just that you scored. It's that at the end of the day, you got the stop that won the game. Yeah. And that's huge. And that was 3 guys jumping and flailing, trying to make the shot as hard as possible. So,
yeah.
No, I like the fact that they took whatever Miami was dishing out in that third and early in the fourth quarter and responded. We saw so many times in 2021 that that they would take that and it would turn into a 22-5 run for the other team. And you just ask yourself as you're sitting there watching the game, like we talk about with 9-game losing streaks, just don't let the team go on a 22-5 run and you might have an opportunity to win the game. Yesterday, it looked like Miami was following the blueprint. They knew what time it was. This is the time where they go. And they hit them, and the Kings responded not once, but twice. And I just hope that's – me and James talked about it on Wednesday with New Year's resolutions for the Kings. Just be tougher physically and mentally in those situations. And they started off really well with how they responded to what Miami did yesterday.
Yeah, if you just go back to the game before, they tied the game at 67. They were the team punching early in the third quarter. And then it's like Dallas played a little bit of, rope it up, a little bit of laid back. And then just hit him with a right cross. And the Kings just, I mean, that was a 24-2 run after it was tied at 67-67. Just embarrassing. And the Kings went 0 for 12. The only 2 points they had was a pair of free throws from Harrison Barnes. That's it. So, like, look, at a certain point, it's not like you don't know what the problem is. You know what it is. So you keep getting, like, out physicaled. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit, I think. You know, teams come in thinking, they go into halftime and they're like, okay, we got this team right where we want them. If we hit them hard right now, we can just, they'll fold, right? And we saw it on, what was it, Wednesday? Oh, no, on Friday. They just folded. They folded so bad, it was embarrassing.
Right.
So that's what teams come into the game thinking. Hey, if we keep it close until halftime, we keep it even if it's within 10, 12 points, all we have to do is hit this team hard in the third quarter, and they'll fold up shop. And maybe that's what they're learning, like just the mental fortitude, the mental toughness, and start using your timeouts better. You know, start stopping those runs the best you can. And I know Gentry had a really astute point. He said at some point, the play on the court has to be the timeout. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. The play on the court, the players have to take ownership over what they're doing, and they need to take care of it. They need to stop the run. And you know, for at least one game they did it. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
It felt like a lot of things went right for the Kings yesterday, which I think is what like Davion knocked down a few shots. I thought Damian Jones was really, really good. I want to talk more about that. And I think you noted this last night on Twitter. We lived by the buddy last night. And it's like, you know, you want to believe, okay, there are things getting better. Okay, they got punched in the mouth. They responded. But then you look back and you go, yeah, but you got what has become an abnormal night for Buddy Hield, an abnormally efficient night from Buddy Hield. You had Davion knocking down shots, which he normally does. And I think that's one of the things that leaves fans wondering, I don't know who this team is. I can't get excited when they win 3 or 4 because one, the one loss is a disaster. And two, I don't know what to make of the times that they actually win the games.
I think you do know who this team is. That's the hard part.
I don't like the answer. I want a different answer. I want to exchange it.
They are who they thought we were.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they are. They're an inconsistent team. And I know that, like, it's not the answer that anyone wants. That's why even like my Sunday musings, it's time. It's not time to make a trade to make a trade. It's time to make a trade because your team is not good enough. That's it. That's the answer. Like, your team's not good enough. So you either have to get better or you got to get worse. That is the way the NBA works. There isn't another option. Well, there is, and it's just being really, really mediocre or less than mediocre for a long time. It's what the Kings have done most of the time they've been in Sacramento. How many times did the Kings have the 7th or 8th pick in the NBA draft? I mean, I can remember Lionel Simmons, number 7, Walt Williams, number 7, Bobby Hurley, number 7. You know, Jimmer Fredette was number 10, but they had the 7th pick in that draft. You know, the pick that they traded and drafted Papianos with, Marquise Chris, that was the number 9 pick in the draft. Ben McLemore, number 7 or number 8. Nick Stauskas, number 8 pick in the draft. That's how you remain a bad NBA team. You draft right there. Davion, 9th pick in the draft, you know, or 8th pick, whatever it was. Again, like, the top tier of the draft is always so good. And then there's always a home run or two. Those home run or two always come like picks 12 through 18. They don't come like number 9. There's so few opportunities to draft somebody that is a franchise change. You can draft really solid pieces that are part of a team, but very rarely do you find just an absolute gold mine at picks, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You mentioned Sunday musings. We're going to step out. We're going to come back. I'm going to ask you about that. I want to talk about Damian Jones, and I want to ask you about the big red panic button. If you've read Sunday musings, you know what that's about. We'll ask James Ham about that when we return. We're going to go commercial free to the top of the hour when we get back here on this 49ers Monday, brought to you by Gilmore Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Right now, Gilmore is offering Niner fans a $49 furnace safety inspection. Just mention this ad. You get more with Gilmore. You get more Kings Talk next on ESPN 1320. Can you give me an update on the count?
Here's what the people really came here to see, James. Your thought on Diddy and Young Miami spending New Year's Eve together.
Oh, yes, James. Your thoughts.
Can you hear my pug snoring from here? I think he captured that.
Young Miami and Diddy. Did you guys see? I know you saw it. The barricade that fell at the
that was terrible
team game.
The Eagles.
Oh yeah, the Eagles.
That was awful.
And everyone was okay, right? Like, and then they all just mobbed.
They all got up and took pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, mobbed.
I was scared.
Was it Jalen Hurd, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All their masks off. That was great to see.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. We can talk about it on but like just well wishes sent out to Gary Gerald. That's the situation.
Yeah.
So not good.
Yeah.
We can talk off the record on that one.
Yeah, Gman. It's a tradition unlike any other. Like Gman plays hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like I remember a couple years ago, Gman did a game where the joke was he sounded like Barry White. Like his voice was 20 times deeper than mine. And
yeah. Well,
but that's just the way he is. Like he does not miss games. And
we were sitting at dinner and he was sitting at our dinner table. And I was the first one there. He was the first one there. He was early, which was way earlier than normal. And then I said, hey, and we started talking. I said, oh, you got a frog in your throat. And he said, yeah, I'm a little raspy today. And I'm like, oh no. And then, but you know, a cold's going around too, a head cold's going around. And so we didn't do much, to like, I mean, he was across it, like it's a big table but we got the call last night. So he put it out there. That's the only reason I would talk about it. If not, I wouldn't have brought it up. He put it out late last night. But we also, we did our own contact tracing through all of our media friends. Cause like who was at the table? Where was he? So yeah, just everyone being safe as we can, man. I'm really hoping.
Hopefully it's an easy bout for him. Cause he's had his booster and everything else. So, oh, sure.
That's good.
Yeah. So, yeah, but he's a Sacramento treasure.
100%.
Yeah.
Even though Bobby hates Kenny, even though Bobby, his son hates Kenny for reasons we have yet. I guess, I don't know. It's an ongoing joke. We've never been able to decipher.
I'm blocked on Twitter.
Why Bobby?
Nobody knows why. I don't think I've ever had any interaction with Bobby. And then he listens to the show.
Yeah.
And he'll like tweet Damian or text in like, yeah, that was a good play back in 95. That was a good thing. And then we talk about how I'm blocked and he doesn't unblock me.
You got to get to the bottom of it.
He's a good dude.
Like, he did. It's got to be.
I don't know what I did.
It's got to be something. It's got to be something.
I don't know. Yeah.
Misunderstanding.
But it's funny. Misunderstanding. It is funny. Like a fake beef. Maybe that's, if we had you and Bobby on New Year's, I would know. At least I would know who the people were.
Like I don't.
I know who did.
I don't know. I don't know how to push buttons like him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ham, you were getting under some people's skin over the holiday.
Oh, was I?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't. What did I? Where?
A Twitter thread hit social media. Someone defending polls that they post, and we believe that was in reaction to.
Oh, really? Really?
May have hit the group chat this weekend.
Interesting.
Said, he didn't.
Oh, hang on, guys.
No.
It's off the record with James, D'Lo, and KC here on twitch.tv/ESPN1320, youtube.com/ESPN1320. We're very much on the record now as we are back here on the radio. Plenty to talk about here as it pertains to your Sacramento Kings. It is a 49ers Monday brought to you by City Center Financial. Refinance today below 1.99% APR. 1866 go City 6 as the 49ers will take on the Los Angeles Rams this weekend. Win, and they're in the playoffs. Lose, and they're going to need some help from the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm already stressed, man. Look, man, I'm not sitting here just, you want to talk about humble hearts. I'm just very humble hearts right now. I'm just stressed. James, I'm stressed, man. I need this game, man.
James, a 49ers fan too. James looks cool as a cucumber.
Well, I mean, just like your expectations. At this point, I'm a man with lowered expectations when it comes to sports teams.
Dude, I mean, expect them to make the playoffs this year. They should make the playoffs this year.
But week 3, from then on, I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. I mean, I expect the A's to trade all their good players. I expect the 49ers to blow up somehow here, and I expect the Kings to miss the playoffs because that's what typically happens.
Damn it.
Yeah.
We got to play in, Rams, though. We got something for the Rams. Let's go, damn it.
All
I'm
right.
getting hyped up right now. I think I'm walking to LA. I'm gonna walk to LA. Let's go.
You gonna do that, huh? Okay. Well, all right. I advise against it, but it's a little chilly outside. It's windy, but I know you're amped up. It's an exciting week for sure. And James, it's a tough week for the Kings with the Lakers at the crypto whatever tomorrow. The Hawks, they've got a tough January ahead. I don't know where I was going with that other than to point out it's a tough January. There was no smooth segue there. It's just a tough January, James. Take it from there.
Yeah, I don't again, I don't think anyone should fully fear the Lakers. Like, we have no idea who the Kings are from one night to the next. So
sure.
I don't know how we judge who the Lakers are, but I don't think I fear them. And, AD's not back, and they traded Rondo, which, strangely enough, when Rondo has played against the Kings, he's really helped in small segments of time. And you're always wondering why he's not out there more. But now he's gone. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think the Hawks are getting some players back off of health and safety. But again, we're kind of seeing what that looks like. And we're in this weird phase of the NBA season that we've never been in before, where, you don't know how many G League players you're going to be up against every night. And they're all tryhards. So they're all trying to make their name, even like Chris Silva playing, how in the world Chris Silva is on the court, and we've talked about this before. I did a little bit of research, how is Chris Silva in the league and Harry Giles isn't? And it's because Harry Giles can't stay healthy. He's banged up, and he has not been playing in the G League. I think he's only played 3 or 4 games this season. So that's why he's not in the league. But, it's just this weird time where, Emmanuel Mudiay is no longer with the Kings, but could he be back? Will the Kings sign someone else? Are they, because they now have a hardship because Rashawn Holmes is out. So I just think this is such a strange situation that we have no idea what's going to happen. At one point last night, Nick Stauskas, Kyle Guy, and Chris Silva, all former Kings, all guys who are basically out of the league at one point in the last year, are sitting there playing together for the Miami Heat. And everyone's like, how are the Kings not just rolling them over? It's well, because these guys can hit shots. Well, I was surprised that Chris Silva hit some shots. But, these guys are all fighting to get into the league. I think this is giving opportunities that have never been there. But how could someone bet basketball at this point? How do you even know what you're getting 3 hours before the game? You don't. We're sitting there. We ask the question every single day. Hey, Alvin, is there any changes? It's oh yeah, Terrence Davis probably won't go. We have these little things that happen leading up to the game, but we could get to a game and 4 players could be out. Even at the end of Robert Woodard was out last night. We didn't find out until after the press conference and pregame. One of the Kings media relations staff came over and said, hey, Robert Woodard's not going to go tonight. He has a non-COVID related illness. So, yeah, It's totally bizarre.
And the other thing about that real quick, though, I would just need some clarification. What Terrence Davis is out with the ankle injury. Did he hurt it in a game or anything like that? Because I just felt like I just turned the TV on one day and Terrence Davis was in street clothes, couldn't play. I said, what happened? The guy was we talked about it, James, how he was just jumping all around in that OKC game. So he ran it during a game or?
Yeah. You know what? He was struggling with an ankle injury for a long time. Just like multiple ankle injuries throughout the early part of the season. When he had the break, he said the break actually let his ankle heal up, and he felt great. And then I don't know what it is. It's, you never know. Sometimes players they don't want to be out of the rotation, quote unquote, out of the rotation. But I don't think that's it. I think he's got some sort of ankle situation that when he tried to give it a go in warmups yesterday and just said, no, I can't go. I think if he was in the rotation or starting, those are different vibes. Like there's a possibility that he would have fought through. But if you already know you're not going to play, then, I don't think that there's much you can do about it. He just, he wasn't able to go. So I don't think it's anything long-term. It's just kind of, we're in that part of the season where some guys have some nicks and dings and they've got to try to get through it.
Speaking of in the rotation, Kenny and I are both in agreement that Damian Jones has kind of earned a place in this rotation. He played well yesterday. He's had some stretches where he's played, really well over the course of the last 8, 9, 10 games or so. What's your assessment of Damian Jones here?
Yeah, we talked about this on Wednesday, that he's kind of, in a way, he's kind of a poor man's Richaun Holmes. He does a lot of the same things. We had the game where he hit a couple of threes, but at this point, he's no longer hitting those threes. I don't know if he's going to keep taking those threes if they're not going down. But he's active, he's long, he fights, he rebounds outside his zone. I think the 14 rebound game for him, that was a breakthrough moment because he's always been a dude who just hasn't had that. I think his career high was 11, and he's played way too many games for that to be his career high. So when he had that breakthrough game, now it's like, oh, well, that wasn't that hard. I should be able to get 10 rebounds every game. And so now we're starting to see him stack those things up. He's really good in the pick and roll. He's really good at going up and over crowds and dunking, which I think is good. So, I think, he definitely has earned his minutes. That's what Alvin Gentry's been telling us, like every game. Like he's earned his spot. So going forward, what does that mean? That means Tristan Thompson and Alex Len are going to have a tough time getting minutes. There are going to be nights where you have to have one of those two guys where you either need a dude who will throw his weight around like Tristan Thompson or a guy who can defend much bigger centers like Alex Len. But I think we're going to see a lot of Richaun Holmes and a lot of Damian Jones going forward, just because I think that they fit the style of play that the Kings want to play.
I'm jumping out the window a little bit here with this question. I'm just asking the question. I don't know what's going on. Is there a potential for a Holmes, Damian Jones starting front court where maybe you slide Holmes to the 4, Damian Jones guards the bigger 5s and things of that nature, and kind of the way they try to do it with Marvin Bagley? Or does Bagley have a skill set that gives them more of what they're looking for at that other big man position?
I certainly think that Marvin's skill set is very specific. The Kings don't have guys that can really go into the post and score over somebody. I think it was strange. We saw in one of the games this week where DeAaron Fox started going in the post and actually using his body and doing post moves over smaller guards.
Jalen Brunson, I think he was doing that.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, that was really intriguing to me that we saw that. I don't think that we're going to see it because like this team has had enough opportunity to show that they could use Holmes on the perimeter. I think that's the key, right? Holmes he's good enough defensively. He can defend on the perimeter and he can defend much smaller players. So with the Kings doing a bunch of switching, I think we're seeing a little bit more of that. Right. And even I think Damian Jones has been better on the perimeter. So in a perfect world, I think that would always be possible. And in like 2000, that would have been totally possible, or 2008, that would have been possible. But at this point, with all of the 3-point shooting and teams trying to space the floor, in order to do that, it would have to be in a lineup. I wouldn't say as a starting lineup. It'd have to be in a lineup with like Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes. You know, you'd have to have it with 3 shooters, 3 pure shooters, and at least one big time playmaker, and probably more than one playmaker. So it might even have to be like Davion with Barnes and Haliburton, something like that.
You mentioned this in the Sunday musings. We alluded to it just a few minutes ago. The big red panic button. We're now into January, which means the trade deadline is about a month and some change away. Do you think that panic button is hit?
Yeah, you know what? Like, this season is so strange, right? Every other game is like a panic button moment. Like we started doing on the Kings Beat. We have Tuesday overreactions now, and like every single game, there's something to overreact about. It's not logical. Nothing that we see here is logical. You can't follow it. You can't guess what's going to happen next. All I can say is that the point of that article is that, again, the team is not good enough. They're not good enough because they've shown that enough of the season. Now, they might be good enough to be the 10th seed, or even the 9th seed, or even the 8th seed, because the West is just completely weak. But at the same time, like, you have this opportunity here where you can go in and swing for the fences, because there are a bunch of bad teams. You could jump 5 spots in the standings without really even like changing your whole roster if you added some nice pieces here and there. But if you want to be sustainable and you want to be good long term, you can't just keep sitting around and not doing anything. That's what we've seen for too long. And so at some point, I would like to see the Kings like really, either go backwards or go forwards. And you got a war chest of draft picks. Go use those draft picks to go get, Christian Wood. You don't think Christian Wood would look good on the starting front line, alongside Rashawn Holmes, a 3-point shooting, 19 in a row. I think he's 17-10 right now, but 20-10 last year. 26 years old, under contract next year. Like, what's it going to take? Is it going to take, a contract like Tristan Thompson's contract with maybe a throw-in young player and a first-round pick? Is that what's going to get you him? Because I think it would. So if you can go get a guy, sure. Does he have some issues where he wouldn't go in a game and he got angry, and like they're suspended for this next game. Yeah. They got into a John Lucas, him and Kevin Porter. Yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, like, you got to do something. Like, this is too much. Like, it's crazy to me that the 2 guys out of all the people that we've seen Monty McNair go out and get, Chimezie Metu and Damian Jones are the only ones in the rotation. So Tristan Thompson, you just go down the list. Tristan Thompson, Alex Len, Terrence Davis, Mo Harkless, all of those guys are out of the rotation. So your 2 draft picks are playing, and 2 young guys that are on non-guaranteed contracts for this season and do not have contracts going forward. That's the only thing that he's added. And, oh, by the way, he did lose, Bogdan Bogdanovic and Kent Bazemore in free agency. So again, like, at some point, you have to do something that is meaningful one way or another. I think that this front office overestimated the strength of the core, and they added solid role pieces around the strength of around their core, and their core is not good enough. That's what we're seeing now. The role players have to be better than the group that you have, because your core isn't strong enough to make it so those guys can just do their role. They need more than just their role. Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting situation. And so is there a big red panic button? I mean, I think that there should have been a big red panic button for this team a while ago.
Yeah.
The big red panic button is that an announced crowd of 14,800 or something is really turnstile wise, like 8,200.
They didn't give up on the upper deck. The upper deck ain't happening no more.
Man, to be honest, some section won. I think it's section 217 won the other night. One of the little contests, they panned up to the section. There were like 40 people in the section. That's just not okay. You can't even pan up at this point. You can't go up to something in the crowd.
Yeah.
And even Miami, you heard some Miami chants in the third quarter yesterday. Like there wasn't a response. There wasn't a response from Kings fans. If you want this thing to die on the vine, then keep doing what you're doing, because that's where we're heading. Like, you need to do something to invigorate everybody, the team and the crowd and everyone else. Get some excitement going.
Hey,
go WNBA style and move everybody down for God's sakes.
Relegation.
Hang the curtains down like it's the high school playoff.
Right, exactly.
Get that going on. But to your point, James, me and Damian were talking, Damian and myself, we were talking about this earlier, about what would take, from a fan's perspective, what would it take to get you to feel good about this team or believe anything? Because I laid out the scenario. This is a tough week this week. If they won all 3 games this week, and then you combine that with what they've already done, that put them at like winning 6 out of 7, I'd stand there like, so what? Like, when's the other shoe going to drop? You know what I mean? And we came to the conclusion, at least I felt like I did, was as long as this group is together, they're not going to excite anybody. Like, they're not going to get anybody riled up or feel like anything is going on. A move has to be made for anybody, at least in the Kings world, fan world, to take this team seriously and have any type of good feelings about this type, good vibes about this team at all. Because nobody's believing it, man. Nobody believes that this group of guys can turn this around and can sustain turning it around at all.
Yeah, I mean, when you really look at it, like, we knew pretty quickly that this team just wasn't, it just didn't have it. So, there has to be something that gets everyone off their feet. That's what you're hoping for. And I guess just having your name out there all the time, that's not enough. That's just not enough, and that's what we're seeing. It's built up this expectation that something is going to happen, that you're going to make this big move. The only reason you haven't traded Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley is in reality because you don't have takers. But the perception is that, well, they're $34 million in contract, and we may swing for the fences and go get this big player to change this whole thing around. And you're going to have to hold on to those contracts until, until you can make a big move. Well, we've gone past that. Like, that just isn't happening right now. And, there's like 5 weeks left before the trade deadline at this point. Like, things need to happen. Like, there's no reason to wait. The trade deadline is a magical date that's sitting out there. That doesn't mean that you can't trade. It's like, the maximum speed limit is 55. Like, no one drives 55 on the nose. Like, either you're going 75 or you're going 50. Like, no one is doing it. So, like, just do what you're going to do. Like, at some point you have to be active and jump in the fray. Because if not, if you just sit around, that's literally like 18 months of nothing, of drafting 2 players, and that's it. And you can't say that, well, I deserve the opportunity to keep doing this if that's all you've done. That's hard. So you have to be active if you're the Kings. And is there a possibility you'll swing for the fences and miss? Is there a possibility that you'll make a trade that doesn't help you get, incredibly, that much better? Or is there a way to take a step back and, trade a guy like Harrison Barnes and start getting draft picks, or trade a guy like, even Rashawn Holmes? He can be traded on January 15th. Is there a way to start doing this stuff to, like, drop down, like, be really bad? If you're going to be this bad, you might as well be really bad. So we can actually strip this thing down and maybe add some pieces around whoever you deem is your actual core. Because I think at this point, we've started to realize that the core is not who we thought it was, and you've got to change it.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're talking Kings basketball, but it is a 49ers Monday brought to you by Gilmore Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Right now, Gilmore is offering Niner fans a $49 furnace safety inspection. Just mention this ad, you get more with Gilmore. I think you'll know what I mean by this question. Has Tyrese Haliburton become more tradable in the last few weeks or less tradable in the last few weeks?
No, see, again, Sean always laughs when I say this on the podcast. Like, Tyrese Haliburton is Monty McNair's firstborn. He's his first draft pick, and to be honest, he hit a home run. Like, that's a really good NBA player that 29 other teams would love to have. Like, if you don't want Tyrese Haliburton on your team, then I don't know what you're doing. You're not trying to be successful, because that is a successful young man who's going to be a very good player. I don't think there's any way that the Kings trade him. I think the bigger question is, if you have untradeable pieces on the Kings, has he moved above DeAaron Fox as untradeable? And I would say the answer is probably yes, just because he's cheaper. You have him under team control for longer. And he also, he's your guy. He's the guy that you drafted. Now, saying that, I think trading De'Aaron Fox, a 24-year-old dude who averaged 25 and 7 last year, and he's under contract in the first year of a 5-year contract, that's crazy too. Like, that's not what good teams typically do. They don't trade guys like that. And if you do, you better get equal or more value. It better be with a team that has like a bevy of something, and they're only making the move because that's the one piece that they're missing, and they're giving up a whole bunch of stuff. Outside of that, you do have pieces here. Like, the disappointment isn't that you don't have talent. The disappointment is that talent isn't playing well enough together to win. That's a disappointment. And we can blame coaching. We can blame culture.
But wouldn't part of that argument be that Tyrese and De'Aaron aren't consistently playing well together?
Yeah, but they've been together 82 games or 85 games. Like, go back and look at Dame and CJ. Go back and look at Steph and Clay. How many years? How much?
Well, we did. We actually looked at Brad and John Wall.
Yeah.
And I mean, your point's valid. It's completely valid. I'm just throwing out. I'm a broadcast journalist, James. I'm just asking questions.
No, I get you. Like, this is a situation, where you just want the team to get better, and the easiest way to get better is to trade good players for better players. You don't get nothing. You don't get something for nothing in the NBA. Well, very rarely do you. I mean, I think the Kings got Harrison Barnes for nothing, that trade. So if you could find more of those trades, that's one thing. Again, like if Christian Wood isn't going to get a first-round pick from anyone else, give him 2 seconds, give him 3 seconds. I don't care what it is. That team is stacking picks. They're trying to do what OKC is doing. If that type of player is available, go chase that. Like, do something that actually has a chance of being impactful, even if you're taking a little bit of risk with personality or a little bit of risk with whether you can retain him after next season. It's worth it at this point to do something that changes the course of what's happening now, because apathy is happening right now, and that's like the worst thing possible.
And in that Houston situation, I'm thinking about that and the setup of that team and the makeup of that team. I think Marvin Bagley might be a good fit for them. You know what I mean? And if you can get a Christian Wood, or I mean, I guess you don't need another guard. I was going to say Eric Gordon, but just somebody to help you out. Christian Wood would be a good piece for that. And I think that would be a good landing spot for Marvin Bagley for a number of different reasons. He gets an opportunity with nobody really in front of him to just see what he's got in this league and gets a new change of scenery and things of that nature. So I wonder if those type of talks are being had by the Sacramento Kings. I think about another one. Like, if you could find a way to get a Cam Reddish, if you could find a way to convince Atlanta to part with Cam Reddish, that may take a Harrison Barnes or something like that. I'd take a chance on Cam Reddish. He's another guy that's always injured, as well, but he's young, he's talented. But moves like that have to be what's in the form for Monty McNair, man. You're not going to get People talking about Brandon Ingram. Stop. Like, you're not getting Brandon Ingram. The Kings don't have anything that would get them Brandon Ingram. Fox included. I love Fox, but no. Like, get that out your head. You're going to have to take a young guy who probably a buddy of mine was talking about Jordan Poole. Maybe make a package for him. See what you got with Jordan Poole or something like that. But that's the type of guy that I think you got to bring in there and just kind of hope that, you know, there's a renaissance in their career and they can rise up here in Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are those are, I mean, Poole and Reddish. I mean, I like Reddish's game, but again, I think he's like a really, really budget like ad at this point. I don't think anyone is really, like, they're not going to ask for the farm for him just because they're in a situation. What's that?
I said that would be even better.
Yeah, because and that's in this situation. I think that you're really looking at a player that, you know, they have all kinds of cap issues coming up, and you can see it. And there's no way that they're going to be able to retain him. And he hasn't elevated his game to where he's part of the answer. And again, if you're the Kings, I don't think Cam Reddish moves the needle enough. Like, I think that's the situation that they're in, where if you're gonna go for it, like, man, you got to go for it. It's got to be names. It's got to be excitement. It's got to be, I can't believe we got this guy. I got to go out and watch him. That's what it's got to be. It can't, like, Jordan Poole is not going to move any needle with the fan base.
But see, I don't think those guys exist, James.
Yeah, who the hell is
I don't think the market ain't out there for those. These guys are all sewn up right now, except for the first guy that comes to my mind is Julius Randle. That's
but I just don't think the Knicks are going to move on from that either. But we're talking, like, get involved in the Ben Simmons trade. If you're getting Ben Simmons, now you're.
I don't know if that's going to get the reaction that you're talking about, though.
Oh, I don't know if you're getting Pascal Siakam. We're seeing guys out here. You know, you mentioned Brandon. Yes. You mentioned Brandon Ingram. Like yes, these are names. And look, the way that things have happened for the Pelicans, I don't think anything's off the table. If you're going to start waving 2 first-round picks, like you're gonna get them listening. Like if you're gonna look at the package that you would offer for Ben Simmons, and look at a guy like Brandon Ingram, you might be able to get him for a Marvin Bagley and you know, or a Buddy Hield and then a couple of first round picks. So I think you've got to be really wide open about what you're willing to do. What are you willing to risk? Because it can't, if you're going to make a move right now, it can't just be to get in the playoffs this one season and then you gave up too much and your team is trash. It's got to be, how are we setting our franchise up for this year and the next 3 or 4? How do we get in the playoffs, but how do we get in the playoffs and be sustainable? So that's where you've got to start looking at pieces. That's why Ben Simmons has always been the most intriguing piece for everyone, because he's under contract forever. He's under contract for 4 years. And so when you're trading for him, it's not just that you're getting a really good player, an all-star, a 3-time all-star and 2-time like near defensive player of the year player. You're getting someone who's under contract, who's young and under contract for a long time. And again, same with Sabonis. Sabonis is under contract. Those are the guys that you want to look at.
Yeah, what the hell happened to that? I thought Indiana was blowing it up. I thought December 15th was the start of the trade deadline. Ain't nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Well, let's give the league a little bit. I mean, these guys are a little bit extended because they're not just searching. I mean, how many players have come out of retirement?
They're trying to find Mario Chalmers. That's why.
I mean, Rio is back in the league. I mean, Darren Collison is back in the league. The Kings played the Clippers, and Wesley Johnson came out of retirement, and all of a sudden he hit his tenure, hit the 10-year mark, which means he now gets lifetime medical for him and his family. And he gets another $800 a month added on, because for every year you get $800. But like, that's where we're at this point, where
the league about to sign Colin Kaepernick. We're like we're one more COVID case away from someone signing Cap.
I mean, again, we talked about like almost jokingly, but the Kings played against Nick Stauskas, who hasn't played in the league in 3 years. Kyle Guy, Chris Silva, like that, Yurtseven, like that was it wasn't even a G League team in most situations. Like, I don't even know what Bobby Jackson's going to do with the team he has down in Stockton, because it's just gutted.
Yeah, that's
like
Bobby about to get the call up. What you mean? Like,
yeah, he's lost players to, other teams. They lost Emmanuel Terry. This is crazy time. So I don't even know what to make of it. I don't know what happened to Emmanuel Murphy if he, Adi Murphy, if he went back down to Stockton. I don't know what's going to happen to Emmanuel Mudiay. I mean, the guy got waived from his team in, I don't know if it was China or it was somewhere. He got waived and was available. The Kings picked up a guy who didn't make it in Europe and signed him to a 10-day contract. Yeah. I mean, Darren Carlson has been in the league for 2 or 3 years.
Team in China just legit said, nah,
we're good.
We're just
like, we'll take him. We got it. We need one.
Yeah.
The funny, no, it's not funny, but it is funny. I think I saw somebody tweet out over the weekend after the Rondo trade, because it was Rondo and then Denzel Valentine went to the Lakers and was going to get cut. And they were like, Denzel Valentine was minding his own business, not playing, just hiding on that Cavs bench.
What do you mean? Now he's got a chance to start for the Miami Heat later this week. I mean, that's where we're at. Like, Denzel Valentine, he actually went to the Knicks instead. He could be traded, and next thing you know, he's starting for some team. That's, I mean, it is absolutely wild where we're at.
Hopefully
it's going to be wild.
Thomas come back and then getting protocols.
Oh, he had one game. He had his one game, and it's going to be wild when they start trading like 10-day contracts. Like we approach the trade deadline and like Mario Chalmers is being traded.
8 days left. Give me the one that has 9 days left.
Yeah.
He's on an expiring 2-day deal. You take it.
There's some things like we've been looking at the way that some of this is happening, and like even like figuring out when Rashawn Holmes can be traded is its own anomaly, because he falls into a different rule. He's not the December 15th, he's January 15th. But like, we have to research all of these things now, because we don't know when these guys can get traded. We don't know. Not only that, but like how are trades going to work in this situation? Can you take on more roster spots than 15 if you have somebody who's in, like, you have 4 players in health and safety and they don't count? Like, there's so many nuances to this. And then, by the time when everyone's back, then we have to waive somebody. But like, there's so many nuances to this. I don't think the league is even, like, their head's spinning just like everyone else. Like, where are we going to continue finding other players? Luckily, they had the G League, and most of the G League guys, they were in one spot together, but we're over 200 players who have tested positive. And of that, there's probably 20 of them, 25 of them, 30 of them that are like Isaiah Thomas, that came off the street and started playing, and boom, then they went into protocol. Justin Jackson, he went to Celtics or someone, and then boom, he's in protocol. Like, this is a rough time for the league.
Yeah.
We need to have postseason awards for 10-day contract guys.
We can do it.
I totally agree.
I think we could hand out most improved or like 10-day of the year or something. Like, I don't really know.
Who would get 10-day of the year so far? It's a good question. I feel like there's an obvious answer.
Joe Johnson, comeback player of the year.
I mean, Joe Johnson, he's in his 40s. Yeah, I mean, he's in his 40s, but he's still a bucket. Someone asked, any news on Tyreek Evans? Evans hasn't been cleared from the league yet to get of the drug protocol that he was in. So I don't know why he hasn't been, but it's got to be a timing issue. Like, there has to be a specific time when he's cleared. That's why he's not.
I'd love to know the specifics of that, because I would think even the NBA is like, yo, let's push this Tyreek thing along. We need another player. Like, we need more healthy bodies.
Yeah.
They just got Wesley Johnson in here. Yes, we need healthy bodies.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool, though, because what we're seeing is that guys who may never have gotten a shot are getting a shot. And there's a couple of guys who have actually stepped in and stolen away roster spots. Like, if I'm the Kings, I'm looking at this as an opportunity to look at these players. And if someone jumps out, like, again, like an Emmanuel Mudiay, he jumped out to me like, hey, why not? And you got a guy like Robert Woodard, who isn't healthy, but also really hasn't done anything. He hasn't even done anything at the G League level at this point. And his contract's up at the end of the year. There's no reason not to like look at these as opportunities to look at new players and potential signees for the rest of the season that could make you better. But then you're also going to have to worry about rosters. And, you know, if you have enough roster space for a trade that comes up in the coming weeks and all that stuff. So
Woodard committed a foul a couple of days ago. I was like, Jesus, Bob's going to kill somebody. Like, get him out of the game, dude. He's going to hurt. So he like undercut somebody. He didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
He just like, he kind of like jumped and landed and then he just undercut somebody. I was like, Bob.
There's not a lot of subtlety to him.
Kyron makes a good point. He says, KC, you ready to suit up? Everybody get ready for KC sanity.
Yeah. And get used to, like, you think the Kings don't play defense now? Wait till Kenny Caraway's out there on the floor. 1320 Kings Insider, James Ham, we appreciate you. Become a subscriber, a premium subscriber to the Kings Beat. Head over to thekingsbeat.com. You don't want to miss Off the Record with James Ham coming up Thursday. Only premium subscribers can be involved in that.